Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about a cost breakdown for motion capture. So if you are looking for getting motion capture done for your game, then this video is for you. And I want to start off by saying that these costs are something that are in India. So definitely the cost will vary abroad based on the studio and geography that you're in. But because our studio has also inquired around for motion capture, it will be safe for me to give you costs that we have encountered in India. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. So we're going to rely on this Excel sheet for me to give you breakdown. Now, also I have to mention one thing that there are certain assumptions that we will do. So these costs are not final costs. It will also depend on where this studio is located, which kind of motion capture suit you are after, etc., etc. So there's a lot of other complications that go into picture as well, but we will be working with a few assumptions. What you can do on your end is you can I'll leave the link of this Excel sheet in the description. You can just go to file, make a copy, and change and tweak these assumptions. Okay, so without any further ado, let us get started with the topic. First and foremost, we will do an assumption that we are going to get our own motion capture suit. Okay, so if we just look at couple of motion capture suits online. Let's assume that you are going with Rococo. All right. Now, Rococo over here has a couple of variations in their suits that can start at $2,245. It also has a full performance capture device that is starting at $4,395. Assuming now we are buying the suit, all right, suit cost. Suit is going to cost you 4,395. 4,395. Now I will also have these costs in INR, so I'm just going to move this down. This is mentioned as USD and this will be INR. For now we are taking USD to INR rate at maybe, let's say, 86. I will update this sheet with so that there will be a formula that will fetch the current value. But as of now, we are just relying on this data right over here. So this multiplied by this, which is going to be, I'm just going to put in a dollar sign because we're going to use this a lot. Okay, so that's about 3,77,970 rupees. All right, so I'll just clean this up a bit and I will, make this bold. All right, so there is visibility and I will zoom into this so that we are able to see this cost properly. Okay, now this is just a bare minimum cost of the suit, assuming that you require number of suits to be, maybe you need 2 suits. Okay, so then total cost of suits will be this multiplied by this, and again we will take 2 over here. This will be this multiplied by this. Okay, so if you are dealing with 2 suits, that's about 7.5 lakh for both the suits, right? Now again, it also depends on your full-fledged requirement. See, if you are able to get a suit, acquire a suit, that does not mean that you can do motion capture properly and that's the end of the story. No, acquiring a suit is basically just getting that suit, right? But you also need to account now for the software. Okay, so like let's say over here, if we go to Rococo and we see that over here there are certain plans. Okay, so Rococo has a starter pack that is for free, but there will be limited functionality available for you. So most definitely you will have to opt for a plus or a pro plan, or alternatively, if you are a bigger studio, then you might also have to opt for an enterprise plan. So because you will be using mocap, let's assume that you'll be using mocap for all year round. All right, so monthly subscription cost, it's about here as per Rococo, $50 per month, and that will be an annual commitment, right? So what this means is it will be 50 multiplied by 12. That's about $600. Now 600, this will be this 600 multiplied by our 86, which is about 51,600 rupees, right? Now again, this is assuming that you have the suit now and you have the software. But what about the animator? Because you need someone who will actually do all of that motion capture and then capture all those frames, right? So, like as per India, if you were to hire an animator, an experienced senior animator, maybe you might pay them. This is an assumption about $1,000, right? So we will say that our animator is going to cost us 86,000 rupees a month. Okay, this is the monthly salary. Then definitely this is going to be an annual cost as well. So if you are looking at motion capture all year round, so you need to retain this person. So you are going to spend about $12,000 annually. If we just do a total of this sum of monthly sorry, what we'll do is yeah, so we will do a sum of all of these values, right? Sum of these values, okay, and then the same for goes for here. So on an average, if I were to just separate this out, here on top we had the assumptions and here we have the actual costs, right? So if we were to look at total cost, right, that is about 21,390 US dollars annually, which translates to about 18 lakh 39,540 rupees, right? And let's assume if we increase the suit numbers, right? If we increase the suit numbers, let's say if we increase from 2 to 4, then these costs increase proportionately. Now, this is assuming that you have animation resource, which means you have hired someone for doing animation for you. And this is definitely a senior resource that you will require who will be able to operate motion capture, because as I said, motion capture is not just about getting the suit and the software subscription. What actually happens behind the scenes is that once you get that motion capture, you have to sit down and do a cleanup on that animation, which means that even with the most advanced of hardware, you will actually be required to clean up all of that data, because what happens is once you motion capture everything, there will still be some frames or some areas where there will be jittery animations, right? And you most definitely don't want that jittery animation. That is the reason why you will most definitely require someone, or in this case I will just write this as animator, who will sit and clean that up. Of course, the cost of animator again will vary. You might be able to crack a deal with some animator who you might pay less or pay more, so this cost is going to fluctuate. And let's assume if you just opted for one motion capture suit, then that cost is for acquiring that motion capture suit, which is about 4,395. And here we are assuming that we are going for Rococo. There are other motion capture devices as well. So if you want to go for any other motion capture device, then the cost changes accordingly. Now, one more thing that you have to add over here is studio, okay, because you have this suit now, you have the software as well, but you will also require a place for you to record that particular animation, right? And let's assume you are getting that space for 5 days, all right. Every studio has a rental cost, every studio has a per day rental cost. Let's assume you are hiring a studio that has maybe a rental cost of, I don't know, maybe $300 a day. Okay, and this is, I'm assuming this is bare minimum right now. Okay, so $300 a day, uh, and I'm just going to move this over here. Studio rental per day. Again, this is in USD, and number of days. So you are going to require maybe 5 days for that shooting, right? So this is going to be 300 multiplied by 5, correct? Now again, we will take this formula over here and we will attach it over here. So now again, we will increase our sum over here. So studio cost for 5 days, that's going to be maybe $1,500, okay, and that is going to be about 1.29 lakh rupees. Now, of course, if you are getting a studio, then you also need actors, right? Let's assume bare minimum cost of those actors as well, okay? Actor cost per day USD. and number of actors required. Now again, this will change based on your studio requirements and actor requirements, but we will assume on the lowest and lowest of side. Okay, maybe you're paying an actor $200 a day, and again you will require them for 5 days, correct? So again, this multiply by this, correct, which is about $1,000. And again, if you see that formula, then that will be about 86,000 rupees for five actors. Okay, five actors, but you also have to see that they are required by you for those particular days. So this is going to be multiply this by 5. Okay, so that is going to turn out to be 5,000. So it's F7, which means that now actor cost per day $200, multiply by number of actors required, multiply by number of shoot days for that actor. Now again, the cost of this can be adjusted. $5,000 we are taking, assuming that we are paying an actor $200 a day, which for India is a bit fancy. But we are just taking these costs on a higher end. Now let's assume if you take like a Bollywood actor for here, then this cost can even increase to maybe, I don't know, like $20,000 a day, because some Bollywood actors are extremely expensive. Okay, but assuming we are working with fresher talent, assuming we are not relying on any Bollywood actors or anything, here this is a decent cost to consider. Okay, now again, the drawback of this entire process of doing this by yourself is that you are prone to a lot of errors, right? A lot of issues that you will face. So ideally, what studios do is, instead of building their own motion capture facility, or relying on their own motion capture suits, there are studios that help you actually do all of this thing as a service. Okay, so this was an assumption that you were doing this all by yourself. Okay, so here I'm going to take this and I'm going to add a nice border to this so that visually it will look a bit nicer. Okay, so this was assuming that you are doing all of these things by yourself. But now let's say if you are hiring another studio for doing your motion capture for you. Okay, now here again, it is very important for you to figure out how many days will be required for that particular aspect. So if you were to look at it from that perspective, what will happen over here is that these studios, they already have the suits with them, right? They have, like over here now, the more number of suits you get, the higher your cost becomes, right? So if you were to get just one suit, that cost is about 23,495 US dollars, which is about 20 lakh rupees. If you were to get four suits, then that inflates out to 36,680 US dollars, which is about 31 lakh 54,480 rupees, right? And subsequently, if it was 10, then that cost increase accordingly. So we are assuming four motion capture shoots, five actors, 5 days for them to record the entire sequence. And a prerequisite to this is you need to know your shots. You need to know how many shots you have, what is the content that you are recording, and all of those aspects, right? So you have to know these values. Here we have just assumed these values because, again, it varies from studio to studio, right? Now the good part over here is when you are renting a studio, okay, for mocap studio, is that they offer you these services and you don't have to rely on getting your own suit. So you can ask them for 4 suits, 5 suits, 10 suits, whatever their availability is. Their rental depends on a daily cost. Okay, now because we have inquired around a bit, I know these daily costs and they fluctuate between 150,000 rupees, which is 1.5 lakh, to 3 lakh rupees. Okay, so the range is quite varying. It is about, as I said, we will take the higher end. Okay, and that rental is per day. Okay, per day. So I'm going to put in 3 lakh rupees over here. Okay, which translates to this divided by this. Okay, which means about $3,488. I'm just going to round this figure off so it looks nice and neat and clean. Okay, so rental cost is 3 lakh sorry, 3 lakh rupees and 3,488 rupees per day, per day. Okay. So now what you will do is you will actually multiply this by the number of days required for you to shoot. Then you don't need the monthly subscription cost, right? You don't have to pay this amount. You will, however, need an animator, and the cost of animator is going to be the same that you're taking over here, okay, which is 12,000 US dollars annually. Okay, so we are going to take this as it is, and that cost is okay. You still have to arrange for your own actors. Okay, so again, that cost remains the same, which is sorry. So this cost is still uh, 1 second. I'll just put in the formula so that it doesn't fluctuate. Okay, so this cost remains the same. Okay. Studio cost. Now, if you are going after a studio, then they are going to provide you not just with the rental cost, but they are also going to provide you their space, right? So you save up your cost on renting a studio as well. So in this case, what you actually get is the total cost for renting a studio. It's going to be sum of these values, right? And that then translates to this, right? So again, I'll just write this down: rental cost per day for mocap studio. Okay, and I'm going to put a value of 3 lakh over here, which is about 3488. Sorry, 3488 US dollars. Okay, or we'll just write this down in INR. I don't know. I just want to keep it consistent over there. So 3488. Okay. So this will be this multiplied by the number of days to shoot, right? Which means this multiplied by this, which is again around about 3 lakh rupees. But we will still round it off. Okay. So motion capture rental cost per day in USD and in INR. I'll just write it down over here for our reference. This is this multiplied by this, okay, which is roughly the same. I mean, around about 3 lakh rupees. We can live with that rounding. 40 what is this, 32 rupees error, we can live with that. Okay, or is it 42? I don't know. Okay, anyway, I'll let Excel do my calculation for me. All right, so as you can see, renting a studio becomes more commercially viable for you to do your motion capture, because what happens is when you are going ahead for getting your motion capture done, you not just need that suit, but you need that expertise. And the studios that are doing this professionally, they have been doing this for ages, so they know all the nuances of getting motion capture done. If you end up doing this by yourself, what will happen is you will actually be required to have that expertise in-house, which is what you will need with the animator. But you need that regardless. Even if you don't buy your own suit, you still need an animator, because what happens is the motion capture data that you get from these studios actually is still requires to you to clean up a little more, right? So as you can see over here, roughly the cost turns up to be the same, but if you buy one mocap studio, one mocap suit, then you end up spending relatively less and you can reuse this. The only advantage with having to buy a motion capture suit is that you buy it and you can use it for your future purposes as well. However, you still need that expertise, right? You still need that expertise to actually make sense of what is happening. So in this case, what is best is for you to actually rent a studio that has that expertise and that can help you out build your game. But then again, it also depends on other aspects as well. It depends and fluctuates on your number of actors. If you increase your number of actors, if you increase the number of shoot days, then these values increase accordingly. So feel free to play around with this Excel sheet. I hope this video was useful for you guys. I hope this gave you a clarity. Once again, the rental cost basically differ from studio to studio. So these costs are not written in stone. These will be different for different studios. We have taken certain assumptions over here, but in essence, this is what it's going to cost you for getting a mocap done for your game. So I hope this information was useful. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you are finding my channel for the first time, hit the subscribe button. I'm a game developer by profession, and I intend to keep on bringing such informative game dev videos for you all. That's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching till the very end. And if you want to share this information with your fellow game developers or someone who is looking forward to get mocap done, please do with them, and I will leave behind all the resources in the description. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care, and that's about it for this video.